Hello friends, Sarah Sunstone here, bringing you the latest gaming news with Sunnyside Up. Today is November 26, 2025. Witchbrook shared a fresh developer blog for this upcoming life simulation title focused on all things character customization. This particular blog has been highly anticipated, so grab a cozy drink, shine that lovely like button if you're excited for Witchbrook, and let's get into all the newly revealed details for what we can expect when creating and customizing our own Magic Academy student. So in this developer blog, we get to take a look behind the scenes with Witchbrook's senior artist. And they'll be sharing the fundamentals of the character customization system and how the team has been tackling balancing freedom for the player without creating huge production headaches. They further shared that as a team, they're pushing the boundaries of the medium through constant experimentation, not just with the art, but the technology behind it, to redefine what character design can look like in a pixel art game, which, definitely poses some unique challenges. They said that as an animator and self-professed fashionista themselves, they're obsessed with the little details that bring personality to the forefront. And in our case, clothing is one of the critical and immediate ways to make a game world feel alive. They actually said that they got a lot of their inspiration for this from pixel art dress-up doll games from the 2000s, like 2000s browser games. So the first section of this blog covers character creator variety. They said that they want to provide the player with a ton of options so they can make their witch really feel their own. They wanted to explore different silhouettes, different palettes and styles to avoid falling into the trap of everybody looking the same or restricting player expression. And while there's nothing wrong with t-shirts and jeans, it's always nice to have more choice. They shared that Mossport, the world of Witchbrook, is also a living and breathing city with hundreds of pedestrians going about their lives. So if the clothes don't feel seasonal or weather appropriate, they're going to look out of place and break immersion. So I think that's really nice that they're being mindful of those seasonal differences. It does seem like the characters around the world will probably be more bundled up in the colder seasons and then perhaps, wearing fewer layers once it warms up. Now, regarding the actual character creator, they said that players should be able to see themselves in the game, so they've included a variety of skin tones and hairstyles covering a range of different hair textures. They elaborated that the system they've created includes different fringe options, or bangs, that can be mixed and matched. So you actually be able to mix the base hairstyle with different types of bangs, and you won't be locked into your choices in the beginning of the game because there will actually be a salon. So Mossport Salon will let you change up your style at any time from hairstyle and color to even trimming or growing your facial hair. So also facial hair confirmed. Here we can actually see a glimpse at the exterior of the salon called Fringe Culture, and then also the user interface for selecting different hairstyles. So the first page is comprised of all the different hairstyles. The second page is where you can find the different fringe options to mix and match with. And then the third page is where you can actually choose from different types of facial hair. Now we only get to look at the first page of hairstyles here, but you can see that there is an arrow indicating that there will be additional pages. So here we can see a bald option. We have several different updos, including a bun. We have some medium length hairstyles, some different textured options, some pigtails, and then also a shorter hairstyle here. Again, there's going to be at least one additional page of hairstyles, and I mean, this one over here on the right isn't even pictured here, so I think it's pretty safe to say we're going to have those longer options, medium options, shorter options, textured options. It seems like there's going to be a lot of options for hairstyles, which can then be even further customized with the different fringe that you'll mix and match with, the facial hair, and then also, of course, the color. So we can see a bunch of different colors down here. We have a great variety of different neutral colors as well as different fun colors, and it does look like we can mix and match those colors between the fringe and the base hairstyle, and probably also the facial hair. So here this player has some blonde fringe with brown hair. There's also another example of this here with the green fringe and the brown hair. This video also shows what some of the different colors look like. So this is the first gray swatch, then this is the black swatch. This one, of course, shows that darker brown as the base hair color. And then here we see one of the blonde options. Here we can see another darker blonde option and how that will look on some of the different hairstyles. Here we have the purpley blue color, and then finally that reddish brown color. This customization showcase is also really great because we can see how many of the different hairstyles and colors will complement the different skin tones. It does seem like we have a really nice range of skin tones as well, just based off of this initial look. And we will be talking more about clothing further into the blog, but I did want to point out that here we can get a really good look at a ton of different options for clothing and accessories accessories. There's different tops, bottoms, dresses, glasses, neck scarves, cardigans, different shoes and boots. There's really a lot going on here for clothing, and we'll go further into that shortly. Very importantly, they did state that they don't believe in setting any limitations for what the player can wear regardless of gender. So any hairstyle, clothing type, facial hair is up for grabs for the player, which is honestly how it should be, and I'm really happy to see this. The next section of this blog covers character animation, and they shared that although Witchbrook may look like it involves 3D due to its fidelity, it's entirely an illusion. So everything in this game is 2D, including the characters. They elaborated that for an isometric perspective like Witchbrook's, 8 directions is necessary to believe you're traversing through the game world. So instead of having 4 directions of movement like many pixel art games have, it's going to have 8 directions, which will definitely give the world a lot more depth. They also shared that believability and how the player character reacts to specific scenarios was very important to them. So for example, with broom riding, there are tons of forces at play such as gravity, the wind, your speed, and they wanted to reflect those in the design. So this includes a subtle animation of your legs swaying in the air, your hair streaming behind you in the wind, and if you speed up, your character actually leans closer to the broom and your hair billows even faster. So once again, the team is really demonstrating their incredible attention to detail, which I believe will just make the game that much more immersive and beautiful to experience and look at. So here we can actually see this in action. We can see the player character on the broom. We can see how the animated movement of their various features is really responding to what they're doing. Yes, their hair is blowing in the wind, but you can also see other tiny details like the end of their scarf and little bits of their outfit also responding to the wind, in addition to parts of the broom itself. And then, of course, as they mentioned, you can definitely see that when the player speeds up, they lean forward. You can even see the character blinking, like the detail in the animation, especially for such a small little pixel sprite, is so well done. Next, they shared some information about the clothing system. Very impressively and excitingly, players will be able to wear 11 layers at a time. And this is not counting the hair, the fringes, and the facial hair. So they're very excited to see how we style our witches, and I am very, very excited to style mine when the game releases, which will now be sometime in 2026. So please make sure to subscribe to my channel with your notifications on to stay in the loop for all things Witchbrook leading up to release and beyond. Now, the senior artists shared that a crucial part of their work includes ensuring all clothing options work seamlessly with the player character's 1,000 plus frames of animation, which clearly is no simple task. So because of this challenge, they came up with something called the Clothes Mapping System. So this actually works in a way similarly to 3D games, where a texture is designed and then projected onto a mask that is shaped like a piece of clothing, such as a shirt or a pair of trousers. However, in this case, there are some unique challenges because, the sprites are very tiny, so there's only so much room to fit detailed, complex designs and patterns. They also have to make sure that these masks that are sitting on top of the player characters' bodies will react every time the body moves. So each mask needs to be designed for every rotation and every unique frame of animation. Definitely the more and more we get a peek behind the scenes of Witchbrook, it becomes very clear why the project has taken so long. It seems like they're really doing everything the right way. They're not taking shortcuts. They're really bringing their visions to life, and they're actively working to come up with unique solutions for the specific demands of their game to make sure that there aren't really any sacrifices being made on the part of players, when the game releases. So they really wanted to make sure we would have tons of different clothing options. They didn't want to take that away from us. So I definitely appreciate that for sure, and I'm so happy they're sharing this glimpse behind the scenes with us so we can, get a better idea of what's actually going into this game. And I think it's really neat to see this, how the different patterns are created and then mapped onto the player character. It's actually pretty wild to see something, especially like this pattern up close, and how there's almost just like one single pixel of many of these different colors from the striped pattern on display when the player character is running at this angle. So yeah, this is very cool to see, very neat. I'm really happy to see they found a system that will work so that we can have lots of different options in the game without it being like absolutely impossible for the team to actually realistically implement. Of course, if you want to read through the entire blog, I'll have this linked in the description for your reference. But one thing I thought was really neat here that I wanted to point out is that they've designed all of their clothing textures using RGB base colors. So this allows for separate color assignment in their palette system, which means we can have nearly unlimited color customization options so players can mix and match to their heart's content. And I think that's an excellent way to add more variety without actually adding thousands of unique items, you're having like the same type of pant style with different patterns and colors. So when all is said and done and we're all mixing and matching our favorite pieces together, we all end up looking so different from each other in a way that reflects our personal taste. They also shared that they currently have 5 masks for clothing, which includes a dress top, a shirt, a pair of trousers, a long skirt, and a short skirt. And using these specific masks alone, they've already created 60 plus unique clothing items, from vests to corsets to biker jackets and more. And this is also before factoring in color variations and accessories. And that is not to be confused with the 11 different layers that we'll have access to for mixing and matching. So here we get a look at a player character trying on some different options. We start off with trying on some glasses, some pants, a long sleeve collared shirt. We also get to see another color and pattern variant of the pant item. Here we have one of the witch hats. Then the player switches up their shoes. This shows how we can actually layer a crossbody bag on top of the outfit, which we can then further layer with a neck scarf. So I'm really impressed already at how we have a hat, glasses, a bag, and a scarf on this little pixel art sprite. But it doesn't even stop there, because then we can also layer a jacket on top of all of this, on top of the shirt, but underneath the bag. And then over and above that, we also finally see the player add some gloves to really bundle up for the colder weather. This has definitely far exceeded my expectations for what we would be able to do with fashion in Witchbrook. My expectations were not very high, just for the fact that we are working with such small sprites. So I was just hopeful that we would have like a good number of different options or just different colors of things to wear. I honestly wasn't expecting this much mixing and matching and layering. I think it is really impressive, and I am so excited to collect as many different clothing items as possible so that I can really mix and match to my heart's content. So where are we even going to get all of these clothes? Well, the final section for character customization in this blog covers Calico and brands. So Calico is Mossport's clothing shop, which we have seen in the trailer and with Hana's reveal. But apparently it's not just a clothing store where you scroll through an endless inventory. They actually have tried to make the shopping experience feel relaxing in a way where finding the right piece of clothing feels more like browsing a curated boutique. And I really like this idea, especially for the immersion aspect of our gameplay. Over and above that, Calico also sells a number of distinct brands, each with their own aesthetic and personality. So I know I say attention to detail and immersion a lot when I'm talking about Witchbrook, but it just applies to so much of what they share about the game with us. I absolutely love the idea of having these different brands that are known in the world of Witchbrook, and they have maybe their own kind of aesthetics, almost like personalities to the different lines of clothing. I feel like it just adds more meaning to the clothing items themselves. Again, rather than just having that endless scrolling inventory where you're like, all right, there's like 20 different shirts, there's like 30 different skirts. Let me just pick the ones I like the best and move on. Like, I like that it's more to the experience than just that. So they shared that their personal favorite brand is called Labyrinth, which is a gothic line featuring corsets, dip-dyed jeans, layered oversized tops, and chunky boots, which sounds awesome. But they also said that every brand offers something unique so that players can find themselves amongst the racks. And here we actually get to take a look at some more of those brands. So this outfit seems to be from a line called Moss Sport, which is very clever. This outfit is from the brand 321 Cute. This outfit only seems to show a logo. It doesn't have the name on the card here, but it looks lovely. The purple sweater, the purple skirt, the bag, and the hat. Very cozy and perfect for a day of classes. This outfit is from the brand Shed. It's very vibrant, from those bright striped pants, the colorful cardigan, and a fun little bucket hat. Here's an outfit from the previously mentioned brand called Labyrinth, which definitely fits with the description that was given. Here's another brand that doesn't have the name on the card, but it has a little icon of a horse. With this one, we've got a red hat and glasses, a blue scarf, a long sleeve top, and a plaid skirt. Again, this one doesn't have the name of the brand, but it has the letter B. And with this one, I absolutely love the puffy jacket and how that is once again layered with a striped shirt, a scarf, the jeans, and of course all the outfits. They have different types of shoes going on. So yeah, I absolutely loved seeing this. I am so excited to discover all the brands in the game and all the different, clothing options that are available at Calico. The senior artist concluded by saying that for them, character animation has always been a true labor of love, an immense amount of work but incredibly rewarding. And seeing how much freedom players have to express themselves through fashion, or noticing pedestrians bundled up in winter coats or students in uniform has made it all worthwhile. They also said it truly feels like magic when it all comes together, and I feel like that is probably very true. I already feel the magic in many ways. So that is everything they wanted to share about character customization and clothing. But we do actually now finally get to meet Cormac officially. Cormac is another one of Mossport's eligible bachelors, so the official confirmation that Cormac is dateable. He's a gifted artist and the self-proclaimed black sheep of the family, and Cormac is a witch who would rather be capturing the hues of Mossport in art form than sat in a stuffy old classroom. With a perpetually paint-streaked persona, he will find a kindred spirit in those who can appreciate and find beauty in the unconventional. So you'll often find him hunched over a canvas at the Briny Brush, which is the art shop down by Parasol Sands. So I think that must be the name of the beach. We have seen the Briny Brush before, but I don't think we got the name of the beach before, Parasol Sands. And before they closed out this blog, they actually shared that they will be introducing us to another character next time, one that was included in the Witchbrook Oracle. So based on the contents of the last Oracle, The Quiet Side of Summer, I'm guessing that we'll be meeting Pip Marin next. So definitely stay tuned for that. Well, there you have it, friends. That's the latest news from Witchbrook. I have to say, I'm even somehow more excited than I was before for this game, and I didn't even think that was possible. So be sure to let me know down in the comments your thoughts on the latest news, anything and everything. You know I always love hearing from you. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I love you all. And until next time, take care.